Hey guys, I'm Fred, you're watching Stacks FS and we're doing a review today on the BMW V8 X5 E70. When you're thinking about what kind of car you want to buy for your next car, are you thinking about an SUV and are you thinking about a big old BMW? I am a little bit of a BMW fan, I will admit, so I'm going to be a bit biased in this review in that regard. So what's it like to drive a BMW X5? Well, when you really put your foot down, it is a big car at the end of the day. So you get a lovely growl of the V8 engine. It could be a little louder and you could have it easily modded to be a little louder, but it's got a lovely rumble to it. It still feels refined, it doesn't feel bad boy in any way. It's not a very fast car in respect compared to a sports car, but you know, with 350-60 brake horsepower, four-wheel drive, she still goes very, very well. The handling's phenomenal. For such a big, high-up car, the handling is a treat, and it's a bit beyond what I probably expected. The amount of grip this thing can carry into a corner being such a large vehicle is quite phenomenal, and the adaptive suspension really flattens out the bends, and I like driving flat. I really like a flat car in the corners. It reminds me of something much lower down. It feels more comfortable to drive, and of course when you are deciding to go a little more briskly, the brakes are really important, and I will say the brakes are phenomenal on this. You hear a lot of people's complaints about cars, particularly if they're not the sort of sportier versions. Even if you get the power and even if you get the handling, often it'll be the brakes that feel like a weak point in the car, where you're always on the brakes as you come up to every corner, or in a sudden situation if you need to put your foot down. So brakes, amazing. So what boxes does this car tick for me? Well, firstly, it's a V8. Secondly, it's comfortable. I can get the family in it, I can go away in it. Thirdly, it gives me a driving position I really like. Now, regarding the engine itself, this 4.8 litre V8 that you find in things like the 650, the 550, what have I got to say about it? I think it's a really smooth engine, but let's pick up on the point that everyone's going to talk about. Fuel consumption. What is it like on fuel consumption? Let's be honest, fuel consumption is going to be high. You're talking a heavy four-wheel drive SUV with a V8 power unit. Is it going to be light on fuel? No. What do I realistically get? Well, the numbers are a bit shocking. I would say I'm averaging around 17 to 18 miles per gallon in this car. I might hit mid-20s on a long run, and you can be doing 13, 14 around town. That sounds horrific, doesn't it? But if you think that you can buy a car like this for 10 grand with something like 70, 80,000 miles on the clock, and I've got panoramic sunroof, soft leather, full air conditioning, head-up display, all the cruise controls. I've got rear entertainment for the kids. I've got heated seats in the rear as well as in the front. When you look at that and think how much I'll pay for this car versus what you'll pay for a newer version or a newer thing, you do have to question why would you? Why would you go out and buy a new one when you can get all this in an older one? Now, this BMW X5 has the kind of extra soft leather seats, which in my personal opinion makes a car, because you get that kind of, I think they call it the Dakota leather in the BMW range, and you get it in all the cars, the Mercs, the BMs, that tough leather in the sort of more budget leather. I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a second-hand car and you can find one that somebody spent the extra on the soft leather, oh, it just feels so much more sumptuous. There's more flex, there's more comfort actually in the seat itself. What don't I like about the BMW X5? Well, in this generation, certainly, some of the more remote plastics, so not so close to your hand, they're pretty cheap and they creak. So right down the side of the driver's seat, around near the buttons, and in a few places they're a bit harder to reach, but they do creak. And I find that a little bit annoying sometimes, because if it wasn't for the cheapness of the plastic, it wouldn't creak. Another thing I'm not very keen on is the climate control is very complicated. It's way too complicated. You have to go through the iDrive menu to get to every setting, and you can change just about anything regarding driver, passenger, rear passenger, where you get your air, how much air you get. You can adjust right down to how much air comes out of each one for you, but it's a little bit too, it's too clever for its own good. And as with all BMWs, trying to get it so that you get the airflow temperature just right, and trying to get your head around why BMW, when you set the temperature on a car, does it not give you that temperature airflow? You need to find the other thing that says, do you want hot air or cold air, and wiggle it between it. I've never understood why BMW do that. It's ever so bizarre. What are my favourite features about this car? Well, I've bought mine with a V8 engine. And I love the sound of a V8. For me, I think that's one of the key features of a car is the sound. And not having any sound, or having the wrong sound, makes a car less pleasurable to drive. And that applies to one of the reasons I sold a Boxster S, was the fact that I didn't enjoy the sound very much. The sunroof is surprisingly good. I can put it open, you will hear more noise now, but I can drive along with the sunroof open comfortably at 70 miles an hour. There's a little deflector that comes up at the front of the sunroof for catching flies and what have you when you open the sunroof. But this is probably the best sunroof in terms of lack of air disturbance in the cabin and a lack of noise that I've ever had on a car. And you know, it's the closest thing I feel to having a convertible above my head in a car. There's a split tailgate on the rear, so the rear top half opens up electronically, and if you want to, you can lower the bottom half. That's fantastic for being in car parks and what have you, because if the whole door had to swing out, it would require always extra space behind it. Overall, probably the level of comfort I feel in this X5 is just phenomenal. I love it. I find it really comfortable. I've got power on tap when I want it. Put it down. If I want to wang her into a corner, she's going to hold really nice. You can come up behind people pretty quick. Would I recommend buying one of these cars? Do you know what? I would. I would recommend buying an X5. I think that the combination of speed, handling, comfort is pretty much unrivaled. Most vehicles will not handle as well as this, with this size, with this speed. I've opened up the rear windows. We're going to do a standing start in this. What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Right, here we are. Sport button, sport gearbox. Let's go. First, second. She's already at 60. So I don't know how long that was to 60. It felt pretty quick. Is it as quick as a sports car? No. Does she get off the line and move pretty quick? Yes. So let's give this a few beans, because we've driven pretty sedately everywhere. We'll floor it. She gets up to a very good speed very quickly. Do you know what? You can push this car in a way that you shouldn't be able to push an SUV. It's quite phenomenal. Considering this was made in 2008, you can see why they became such a hit with all of the, you know, footballers and everybody else, because you get a V8 grumble, it's quick, it's really comfortable, you can put the kids in it, you can chuck loads of stuff in the boot and go away for a weekend. I've got a great sunroof that when open hardly gives any noise whatsoever. I mean, what isn't there to like about a BMW X5? Certainly this E70 generation. Well, thanks for watching. Please do watch and subscribe to my other videos. Enjoy, leave comments, I try and give feedback. Love hearing from you guys. I'll see you soon.